Airbus SAS, German, ɛʁbys, Spanish, æəsəs is an aircraft manufacturing division of Airbus Group. Based in Blagnac, France, a suburb of Toulouse, with production and manufacturing facilities mainly in France, Germany, Spain and the United Kingdom, the company produced 626 airliners in 2013. Airbus began as a consortium of aerospace manufacturers, Airbus Industrie. Consolidation of European defence and aerospace companies in 1999 and 2000 allowed the establishment of a simplified joint stock company in 2001, owned by EADS and BAE Systems. After a protracted sales process, BAE sold its shareholding to EADS on October 13, 2006. Airbus employs around 63,000 people at 16 sites in 4 countries, France, Germany, Spain and the United Kingdom. Final assembly production is based at Toulouse, France, Hamburg, Germany, Seville, Spain, and, since 2009 as a joint venture, Tianjin, China. Airbus has subsidiaries in the United States, Japan, China and India. The company produces and markets the first commercially viable fly-by-wire airliner, the Airbus A320, and the world's largest passenger airliner, the A380. History, origins. Airbus Industrie began as a consortium of European aviation firms to compete with American companies such as Boeing, McDonnell Douglas, and Lockheed. While many European aircraft were innovative, even the most successful had small production runs. In 1991, Jean Pearson, then CEO and Managing Director of Airbus Industrie, described a number of factors which explained the dominant position of American aircraft manufacturers. The land mass of the United States made air transport the favored mode of travel. A 1942 Anglo-American agreement entrusted transport aircraft production to the U.S. and World War II had left America with a profitable, vigorous, powerful and structured aeronautical industry. In the mid-1960s, tentative negotiations commenced regarding a European collaborative approach. Individual aircraft companies had already envisaged such a requirement. In 1959 Hawker Siddeley had advertised an Airbus version of the Armstrong-Whitworth AW660 Argosy, which would be able to lift as many as 126 passengers on ultra-short routes at a direct operating cost of $2 per seat mile. However, European aircraft manufacturers were aware of the risks of such a development and began to accept, along with their governments, that collaboration was required to develop such an aircraft and to compete with the more powerful U.S. manufacturers. At the 1965 Paris Air Show, major European airlines informally discussed their requirements for a new Airbus capable of transporting 100 or more passengers over short to medium distances at a low cost. The same year Hawker Siddeley teamed with Breguet and Nord to study Airbus designs. The Hawker Siddeley Nord Group's HBN 100 became the basis for the continuation of the project. By 1966 the partners were Sud Aviation, later Copyright Rospartiel, Arbeitsgemeinschaft Airbus, later Deutsche Airbus and Hawker Siddeley. A request for funding was made to the 3 governments in October 1966. On July 25, 1967 the 3 governments agreed to proceed with the proposal. In the 2 years following this agreement, both the British and French governments expressed doubts about the project. The MOU had stated that 75 orders must be achieved by July 31, 1968. The French government threatened to withdraw from the project due to the concern over funding development of the Airbus A300, Concorde and the Dassault Merkur concurrently, but was persuaded otherwise. Having announced its concern at the A300B proposal in December 1968, and fearing it would not recoup its investment due to lack of sales, the British government announced its withdrawal on April 10, 1969. Germany took this opportunity to increase its share of the project to 50%. Given the participation by Hawker Siddeley up to that point, France and Germany were reluctant to take over its wing design. Thus the British company was allowed to continue as a privileged subcontractor. Hawker Siddeley invested £35 a million in tooling and, requiring more capital, received a £35 a million loan from the German government. Formation of Airbus Industrie. Airbus Industrie was formally established as a group under copyright RTA Permil Economique on December 18, 1970. It had been formed by a government initiative between France, Germany and the UK that originated in 1967. Its initial shareholders were the French company or copyright Rospartiel and the German company Deutsche Airbus, each owning a 50% share. The name Airbus was taken from a non-proprietary term used by the airline industry in the 1960s to refer to a commercial aircraft of a certain size and range, for this term was acceptable to the French linguistically. Or copyright Rospartiel and Deutsche Airbus each took a 36.5% share of production work, Hawker Siddeley 20% and the Dutch company Fokker VFW 7%. Each company would deliver its sections as fully equipped, ready-to-fly items. In October 1971 the Spanish company CASA acquired a 4.2% share of Airbus Industrie, with all copyright Rospartiel and Deutsche Airbus reducing their stakes to 47.9%. In January 1979 British Aerospace, which had absorbed Hawker Siddeley in 1977, acquired a 20% share of Airbus Industrie. The majority shareholders reduced their shares to 37.9%, while CASA retained its 4.2%. Development of the Airbus A300. The Airbus A300 was to be the first aircraft to be developed, manufactured and marketed by Airbus. By early 1967 the A300 label began to be applied to a proposed 320-seat, twin-engined airliner. Following the 1967 tri-government agreement, Roger Barr Copyright was appointed technical director of the A300 development project. Barr Copyright developed a division of label which would be the basis of Airbus production for years to come. France would manufacture the cockpit, flight control and the lower center section of the fuselage. Hawker Siddeley, whose Trident technology had impressed him, was to manufacture the wings. Germany should make the forward and rear fuselage sections, as well as the upper center section. The Dutch would make the flaps and spoilers. Finally Spain would make the horizontal tailplane. On September 26, 1967 the German, French and British governments signed a Memorandum of Understanding in London which allowed continued development studies. This also confirmed Sud Aviation as the lead company, that France and the UK would each have a 37.5% work share with Germany taking 25%, and that Rolls-Royce would manufacture the engines. In the face of lukewarm support from airlines for a 300-plus seat Airbus A300, the partners submitted the A250 proposal, later becoming the A300B, a 250-seat airliner powered by pre-existing engines. This dramatically reduced development costs, as the Rolls-Royce RB207 to be used in the A300 represented a large proportion of the costs. The RB207 had also suffered difficulties and delays, since Rolls-Royce was concentrating its efforts on the development of another jet engine, the RB211, for the Lockheed L-1011 and Rolls-Royce entering into administration due to bankruptcy in 1971. The A300B was smaller but lighter and more economical than its three-engined American rivals. In 1972, the A300 made its maiden flight and the first production model, the A300B2 entered service in 1974. Though the launch of the A300 was overshadowed by the similarly timed supersonic aircraft Concorde. Initially the success of the consortium was poor, but orders for the aircraft picked up, due in part to the marketing skills used by Airbus CEO Bernard Lathierry, targeting airlines in America and Asia. By 1979 the consortium had 256 orders for A300, and Airbus had launched a more advanced aircraft, the A310, in the previous year. It was the launch of the A320 in 1987 that guaranteed the status of Airbus as a major player in the aircraft market. The aircraft had over 400 orders before it first flew, compared to 15 for the A300 in 1972. Transition to Airbus SAS. The retention of production and engineering assets by the partner companies in effect made Airbus Industrie a sales and marketing company. This arrangement led to inefficiencies due to the inherent conflicts of interest that the four partner companies faced. They were both key shareholders of, and subcontractors to, the consortium. The companies collaborated on development of the Airbus range, but guarded the financial details of their own production activities and sought to maximize the transfer prices of their sub-assemblies. It was becoming clear that Airbus was no longer a temporary collaboration to produce a single plane as per its original mission statement. It had become a long-term brand for the development of further aircraft. By the late 1980s, work had begun on a pair of new medium-sized aircraft, the biggest to be produced at this point under the Airbus name, the Airbus A330 and the Airbus A340. In the early 1990s, the then Airbus CEO Jean Pearson argued that the GE should be abandoned and Airbus established as a conventional company. However, the difficulties of integrating and valuing the assets of four companies, as well as legal issues, delayed the initiative. In December 1998, when it was reported that British Aerospace and DASA were close to merging, or copyright Rospartiel paralyzed negotiations on the Airbus conversion. The French company feared the combined BAE DASA, which would own 57.9% of Airbus, would dominate the company, and it insisted on a 50/50 split. However, the issue was resolved in January 1999 when BAE abandoned talks with DASA in favor of merging with Marconi Electronic Systems to become BAE Systems. Then in 2003 the four partner companies merged to form EADS, simplifying the process. EADS now owned Airbus France, Airbus Deutschland and Airbus SA plus or minus A, and thus 80% of Airbus Industrie. BAE Systems and EADS transferred their production assets to the new company, Airbus SAS, in return for shareholdings in that company. Development of the A380. In mid-1988 a group of Airbus engineers led by Jean Reeder began working in secret on the development of an ultra-high-capacity airliner, both to complete its own range of products and to break the dominance that Boeing had enjoyed in this market segment since the early 1970s with its 747. The project was announced at the 1990 Farnborough Air Show, with the stated goal of 15% lower operating costs than the 747-400. Airbus organized four teams of designers, one from each of its partners, to propose new technologies for its future aircraft designs. In June 1994 Airbus began developing its own very large airliner, then designated as A320. Airbus considered several designs, including an odd side-by-side combination of two fuselages from the Airbus A340, which was Airbus's largest jet at the time. Airbus refined its design, targeting a 15% to 20% reduction in operating costs over the existing Boeing 747-400. The A320 design converged on a double-decker layout that provided more passenger volume than a traditional single-deck design. 5 A380s were built for testing and demonstration purposes. The first A380 was unveiled at a ceremony in Toulouse on January 18, 2005, and its maiden flight took place on April 27, 2005. After successfully landing 3 hours and 54 minutes later, Chief Test Pilot Jacques Rosé said flying the A380 had been like handling a bicycle. On December 1, 2005, the A380 achieved its maximum design speed of Mach 0.96. On January 10, 2006, the A380 made its first transatlantic flight to Medellin in Colombia. On October 3, 2006, CEO Christian Streff announced that the reason for delay of the Airbus A380 was the use of incompatible software used to design the aircraft. Primarily, the Toulouse assembly plant used the latest version 5 of CATIA, while the design center at the Hamburg factory were using the older and incompatible version 4. The result was that the 530 km of cables wiring throughout the aircraft had to be completely redesigned. Although no orders had been cancelled, Airbus still had to pay millions in late delivery penalties. The first aircraft delivered was to Singapore Airlines on October 15, 2007 and entered service on October 25, 2007 with an inaugural flight between Singapore and Sydney. 2 months later Singapore Airlines CEO Chu Chung Seng said that the A380 was performing better than both the airline and Airbus had anticipated, burning 20% less fuel per passenger than the airline's existing 747-400 fleet. Emirates was the second airline to take delivery of the A380 on July 28, 2008 and started flights between Dubai and New York on August 1, 2008. Qantas followed on September 19, 2008, starting flights between Melbourne and Los Angeles on October 20, 2008. Expansion and sale of BAE stake. In 2003, Airbus and the Cascol Group created an Airbus engineering center in Russia, which started with 30 engineers and since has emerged as a model of success for Airbus, a unregistered trademark globalization strategy. It was the first engineering facility to open in Europe outside the Campania unregistered trademark's home countries. Equipped with state-of-the-art communications equipment and linked with Airbus engineering sites in France and Germany, the facility performs extensive work in disciplines such as fuselage structure, stress, system installation and design. In 2011, the center employs some 200 engineers who have completed over 30 large-scale projects for the A320, the A330 per A340 and the A380 programs. Russian engineers also performed more than half of all design work on the A330-200F freighter, with its activity related to fuselage structure design, floor grids installation and junctions design. The center currently is involved in the A320neo Sharklets design development and numerous design works for the A350XWB program. On April 6, 2006, plans were announced that BAE Systems was to sell its 20% share in Airbus, then conservatively valued at $3.5 billion. Analysts suggested the move to make partnerships with U.S. firms more feasible, in both financial and political terms. BAE originally sought to agree on a price with EADS through an informal process. Due to lengthy negotiations and disagreements over price, BAE exercised its put option, which saw investment bank Rothschild appointed to give an independent valuation. In June 2006, Airbus was embroiled in significant international controversy over its announcement of further delays in the delivery of its A380. Following the announcement, the value of associated stock plunged by up to 25% in a matter of days, although it soon recovered afterwards. Allegations of insider trading on the part of Noel Fourgeard, CEO of EADS, its majority corporate parent, promptly followed. The loss of associated value was of grave concern to BAE. Press described a furious row between BAE and EADS, with BAE believing the announcement was designed to depress the value of its share. A French shareholder group filed a class action lawsuit against EADS for failing to inform investors of the financial implications of the A380 delays while airlines awaiting deliveries demanded compensation. As a result, EADS chief Noel Fourgeard and Airbus CEO Gustave Humbert announced their resignations on July 2, 2006. On July 2, 2006, Rothschild valued BAE's stake at £1.9 billion, well below the expectation of BAE, analysts, and even EADS. On July 5, BAE appointed independent auditors to investigate how the value of its share of Airbus had fallen from the original estimates to the Rothschild valuation. However, in September 2006, BAE agreed the sale of its stake in Airbus to EADS for £1.87 billion, pending BAE's shareholder approval. On October 4, shareholders voted in favour of the sale, leaving Airbus entirely owned by EADS. 2007 restructuring. On October 9, 2006, Christian Streiff, Humbert's successor, resigned due to differences with parent company EADS over the amount of independence he would be granted in implementing his reorganization plan for Airbus. He was succeeded by EADS co-CEO Louis Gallois, bringing Airbus under more direct control of its parent company. On February 28, 2007, CEO Louis Gallois announced the company's restructuring plans. Entitled Power 8, the plan would see 10,000 jobs cut over 4 years. 4,300 in France, 3,700 in Germany, 1,600 in the UK and 400 in Spain. 5,000 of the 10,000 would be its subcontractors. Plants at Saint-Nazaire, Varel and La Femme face sell-off or closure, while Meult, Nordenham and Filton are open to investors. As of September 16, 2008, the Laugheim plant has been sold to a Thales-Diehl consortium to form Diehl Aerospace, and while the design activities at Filton have been retained, the manufacturing operations have been sold to GKN of the United Kingdom. The announcements resulted in Airbus unions in France and Germany threatening strike action. 2011 A320neo record orders. At the 2011 Paris Air Show, Airbus received total orders valued at about $72.2 billion for 730 aircraft, representing a new record in the civil aviation industry. The A320neo model, announced in December 2010, received 667 orders, which, together with previous orders, resulted in a total of 1029 orders within 6 months of launch date, also a new record. Civilian products. The Airbus product line started with the A300, the world's first twin-aisle, twin-engined aircraft. The shorter, re-winged, re-engined variant of the A300 is known as the A310. Building on its success, Airbus launched the A320, particularly notable for being the first commercial jet to utilize a fly-by-wire control system. The A320 has been, and continues to be, a great commercial success. The A318 and A319 are shorter derivatives, with some of the latter under construction for the corporate business jet market as Airbus corporate jets. A stretched version is known as the A321. The A320 family's primary competitor is the Boeing 737 family. The longer-range wide-body products, the twin-jet A330 and the four-engine A340, have efficient wings, enhanced by winglets. The Airbus A340-500 has an operating range of 16,700 kilometers, the second longest range of any commercial jet after the Boeing 777-200LR. All Airbus aircraft developed since then have cockpit systems similar to the A320, making it easier to train crew. Production of the four-engine A340 was ended in 2011 due to lack of sales compared to its twin-engine counterparts, such as the Boeing 777. Airbus is studying a replacement for the A320 series, tentatively dubbed NSR, for new short-range aircraft. Those studies indicated a maximum fuel efficiency gain of €10% for the NSR. Airbus however opted to enhance the existing A320 design using new winglets and working on aerodynamical improvements. This A320 enhanced should have a fuel efficiency improvement of around €5%, shifting the launch of an A320 replacement to 2017 or 2018. In September 24, 2009, the COO Fabrice Bregier stated to Le Figaro that the company would need from $800 million to $1 billion over 6 years to develop the new aircraft generation and preserve the company technological lead from new competitors like C919, scheduled to operate by 2015 or 2020. In July 2007, Airbus delivered its last A300 to FedEx, marking the end of the A300 per A310 production line. Airbus intends to relocate Toulouse A320 final assembly activity to Hamburg, and A350 per A380 production in the opposite direction as part of its Power 8 organization plan begun under ex-CEO Christian Streiff. Airbus supplied replacement parts and service for Concorde until its retirement in 2003. The Airbus corporate jets markets and modifies new aircraft for private and corporate customers. It has a model range that parallels the commercial aircraft offered by the company, ranging from the A318 Elite to the double-triple-decked Airbus A380 Prestige. Following the entry of the 737-based Boeing business jet, Airbus joined the business jet market with the A319 corporate jet in 1997. Although the term Airbus corporate jet was initially used only for the A319CJ, it is now often used for all models, including the VIP wide-bodies. As of December 2008, 121 corporate and private jets are operating, 164 aircraft have been ordered, including an A380 Prestige and 107 A320 family corporate jet. File Airbus A330-203 Qatar Airways JPG Thumb VIP aircraft Airbus A330 of Qatar Emiri flight taxiing on Zagreb Airport. military products. In the late 1990s, Airbus became increasingly interested in developing and selling to the military aviation market. Expansion in the military aircraft market is desirable as it reduces Airbus exposure to downturns in the civil aviation industry. It embarked on two main fields of development: aerial refueling with the Airbus A310 MRTT and the Airbus A330 MRTT, and tactical airlift with the A400M. In January 1999, Airbus established a separate company, Airbus Military SAS, to undertake development and production of a turboprop-powered tactical transport aircraft, the Airbus Military A400M. The A400M is being developed by several NATO members: Belgium, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Spain, Turkey, and the UK, as an alternative to relying on foreign aircraft for tactical airlift capacity, such as the Ukrainian Antonov An-124 and the American C-130 Hercules. The A400M project has suffered several delays. Airbus has threatened to cancel the development unless it receives state subsidies. Pakistan placed an order for the Airbus A310 MRTT in 2008, which will be a conversion of an existing airframe as the base model A310 is no longer in production. On February 25, 2008, it was announced that Airbus had won an order for 3 air refueling multi-role tanker transport aircraft, adapted from A330 passenger jets, from the United Arab Emirates. On March 1, 2008, it was announced that a consortium of Airbus and Northrop Grumman had won a $35 billion contract to build the new in-flight refueling aircraft KC-45A, a US-built version of the MRTT, for the USAF. The decision drew a formal complaint from Boeing, and the KCX contract was cancelled to begin bidding afresh. Orders and deliveries, all models included. Data as of July 4, 2014. Competition with Boeing. Airbus is in tight competition with Boeing every year for aircraft orders, although Airbus has secured over 50% of aircraft orders in the decade since 2003. The following figure presents the annual orders for deliveries of aircraft produced by Airbus and Boeing, respectively, since 1989. Airbus won a greater share of orders in 2003 and 2004. In 2005, Airbus achieved 1111 orders, compared to 1029 for the same year at rival Boeing. However, Boeing won 55% of 2005 orders proportioned by value. And in the following year Boeing won more orders by both measures. Airbus in 2006 achieved its second-best year ever in its entire 35-year history in terms of the number of orders it received, 824, second only to the previous year. In August 2010, Airbus announced that it was increasing production of A320 airliners, to reach 40 per month by 2012. At a time when Boeing is increasing monthly 737 production from 31.5 to 35 per month. Regarding operational aircraft, there were 7,264 Airbus aircraft operational at April 2013. Although Airbus secured over 50% of aircraft orders in the decade since 2003, the number of Boeing aircraft still in operation at April 2013 still exceeded Airbus by 21% because Airbus made a late entry into the market, 1972 versus 1958 for Boeing. This lead is diminishing as older aircraft are progressively retired. Though both manufacturers have a broad product range in various segments from single-aisle to wide-body, their aircraft do not always compete head-to-head. Instead they respond with models slightly smaller or bigger than the other in order to plug any holes in demand and achieve a better edge. The A380, for example, is designed to be larger than the 747. The A350XWB competes with the high end of the 787 and the low end of the 777. The A320 is bigger than the 737-700 but smaller than the 737 Euro 800. The A321 is bigger than the 737 Euro 900 but smaller than the previous 757-200. Airlines see this as a benefit since they get a more complete product range from 100 seats to 500 seats than if both companies offered identical aircraft. In recent years the Boeing 777 has outsold its Airbus counterparts, which include the A340 family as well as the A330-300. The smaller A330-200 competes with the 767, outselling its Boeing counterpart in recent years. The A380 is anticipated to further reduce sales of the Boeing 747, gaining Airbus a share of the markets in very large aircraft, though frequent delays in the A380 program have caused several customers to consider the refreshed 747 Euro 8. Airbus has also proposed the A350XWB to compete with the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, after being under great pressure from airlines to produce a competing model. Subsidy conflicts. Boeing has continually protested over launch aid, and other forms of government aid to Airbus, while Airbus has argued that Boeing receives illegal subsidies through military and research contracts and tax breaks. In July 2004, former Boeing CEO Harry Stanisifer accused Airbus of abusing a 1992 bilateral EU-US agreement providing for disciplines for large civil aircraft support from governments. Airbus is given reimbursable launch investment, called launch aid by the US, from European governments, with the money being paid back with interest plus indefinite royalties, but only if the aircraft is a commercial success. Airbus contends that this system is fully compliant with the 1992 agreement and WTO rules. The agreement allows up to 33% of the program cost to be met through government loans, which are to be fully repaid within 17 years with interest and royalties. These loans are held at a minimum interest rate equal to the cost of government borrowing plus 0.25%, which would be below market rates available to Airbus without government support. Airbus claims that since the signature of the EU-US agreement in 1992, it has repaid European governments more than US $6.7 billion, and that this is 40% more than it has received. Airbus argues that the military contracts awarded to Boeing, the second largest U.S. defense contractor, are an effective form of subsidy, such as the controversy surrounding the Boeing KC-767 military contracting arrangements. The significant U.S. government support of technology development via NASA also provides significant support to Boeing, as do the large tax breaks offered to Boeing, which some people claim are in violation of the 1992 agreement and WTO rules. In its recent products such as the 787, Boeing has also been offered direct financial support from local and state governments. In January 2005, the European Union and United States trade representatives, Peter Mandelson and Robert Zoellick respectively, agreed to talks aimed at resolving the increasing tensions. These talks were not successful, with the dispute becoming more acrimonious rather than approaching a settlement. WTO ruled in August 2010 and in May 2011 that Airbus had received improper government subsidies through loans with below-market rates from several European countries. In a separate ruling in February 2011, WTO found that Boeing had received local and federal aid in violation of WTO rules. International manufacturing presence. Airbus has several final assembly lines for different models and markets. These are Toulouse, France; Hamburg, Germany; Seville, Spain; Tianjin, China. Mobile, Alabama. Airbus, however, has a number of other plants in different European locations, reflecting its foundation as a consortium. An original solution to the problem of moving aircraft parts between the different factories and the assembly plants is the use of Blagnac, especially in large jets, capable of carrying entire sections of fuselage of Airbus aircraft. This solution has also been investigated by Boeing, who retrofitted 3 of their 747 aircraft to transport the components of the 787. An exception to this scheme is the A380, whose fuselage and wings are too large for sections to be carried by the Blagnac. Large A380 parts are brought by ship to Bordeaux, and then transported to the Toulouse assembly plant by the ITINA copyright Railway Grand Gabarit, especially enlarged waterway and road route. Airbus opened an assembly plant in Tianjin, People's Republic of China, for its A320 series airliners in 2009. Airbus started constructing a $350 a million component manufacturing plant in Harbin, China in July 2009, which will employ 1,000 people. Scheduled to be operated by the end of 2010. The 30,000 square meter plant will manufacture composite parts and assemble composite work packages for the A350XWB, A320 families and future Airbus programs. Harbin Aircraft Industry Group Corporation, Hefei Aviation Industry Company Limited, RV China Industry and Technology Company and other Chinese partners hold the 80% stake of the plant while Airbus control the remaining 20%. North America is an important region to Airbus in terms of both aircraft sales and suppliers. 2,000 of the total of approximately 5,300 Airbus jetliners sold by Airbus around the world, representing every aircraft in its product line from the 107-seat A318 to the 565-passenger A380, are ordered by North American customers. According to Airbus, U.S. contractors, supporting an estimated 120,000 jobs, earned an estimated $5.5 billion worth of business. For example, one version of the A380 has 51% American content in terms of work share value. Plans for a Mobile, Alabama aircraft assembly plant were formally announced by Airbus CEO Fabrice Bra. Copyright JIA from the Mobile Convention Center on July 2, 2012. The plans include a $600 million factory at the Brooklyn Aeroplex for the assembly of the A319, A320 and A321 aircraft. It could employ up to 1,000 full-time workers when operational. Construction began on April 8, 2013, and will become operable by 2015, producing up to 50 aircraft per year by 2017. Environmental record: Airbus has committed to the Flight Path 2050, an aviation industry plan to reduce noise, CO2, and NOx emissions. Airbus was the first aerospace business to become ISO 14001 certified, in January 2007. This is a broader certification covering the whole organization, not just the aircraft it produces. Biofuel: Airbus has joined Honeywell and JetBlue Airways in an effort to reduce pollution and dependence on oil. They are trying to develop a biofuel that could be used by 2030. The companies propose supplying almost one-third of the world's aeroplane fuel needs without affecting food resources. Algae is viewed as a possible alternative energy source because it absorbs carbon dioxide during its growth, and because its use will not affect food production. However, algae and other vegetation-based fuels are still just experiments, and fuel-bearing algae has been expensive to develop. Airbus recently operated the first alternative fuel flight on a mixture of 60% kerosene and 40% gas-to-liquids fuel in one engine. It did not cut carbon emissions, but it was free of sulfur emissions. Alternative fuel was able to work properly in Airbus aeroplane engine, demonstrating that alternative fuels should not require new aeroplane engines. This flight and the company's long-term efforts are considered big strides towards environmentally friendly aeroplanes. Export credits: according to Patrick Crawford of the UK's Export Credits Guarantee Department, historically, the three European export credit agencies that support Airbus have covered about 17% of that company's total sales. In 2009, a €10, reflecting the increased constraints on bank liquidity across the world, that proportion rose to 33%. ECGD guarantees represented by Airbus deliveries grew to 90% of the value of business underwritten and 83% of numbers of facilities. Nearly 50% of these Airbus deliveries were powered by UK aero engines. Airbus Aircraft Numbering System: the Airbus numbering system is an alphanumeric model number followed by a dash and a three-digit number. The model number often takes the form of the letter A followed by a 3, a digit, then followed normally by a 0, for example A380. There are some exceptions such as A318, A319, A321 and A400M. The succeeding three-digit number represents the aircraft series, the engine manufacturer and engine version number respectively. To use an A320-200 with International Aero Engines V2500A1 engines as an example. The code is 2 for Series 200, 3 for IAE and engine version 1, thus the aircraft number is A320-231. An additional letter is sometimes used. These include C for a combi version, F for a freighter model, R for the long-range model, and X for the enhanced model. Engine codes, see also. Aerospace industry in the United Kingdom, Airbus affair. Ongoing controversy over Air Canada deal, Boeing, Bombardier Aerospace, COMAC, competition between Airbus and Boeing, Embraer, United Aircraft Corporation. References. Bibliography, Congressional Research Service. Airbus Industrie, An Economic and Trade Perspective. U.S. Library of Congress. Heppenheimer, T.A. Turbulent Skies, The History of Commercial Aviation. John Wiley. ISBN A0-471-19694-0. Lynn, Matthew. Birds of Prey, Boeing vs. Airbus, A Battle for the Skies. 4 Walls 8 Windows. ISBN A1-56858-107-6. Maguire, Stephen. Airbus Industrie, Conflict and Cooperation in US-EC Trade Relations. St. Martin's Press. McIntyre, Ian. Dogfight, The Transatlantic Battle Over Airbus. Praeger Publishers. ISBN A0-275-94278-3. Thornton, David Weldon. Airbus Industrie, The Politics of an International Industrial Collaboration. St. Martin's Press. ISBN A0-312-12441-4. External links, Official Airbus website, Airbus North America, Yahoo! A Airbus SAS Company Profile, Airbus on Twitter, Case Study of the Airbus Hire Apprenticeship, Key Airbus Publications, Airbus Orders and Deliveries 1974. February 2008.